happens to be our family doctor as well. And he's a pioneer in advancing healthcare innovation. With over a decade of experience in medicine and public health, he is leading a movement that shifts healthcare from reactive treatment to proactive wellness and preventative care. He believes, in the words of Einstein, that a clever person solves a problem and a wise person avoids it. Through his work, Dr. Daniels has empowered communities with technology and education, helping people to avoid sickness and embrace healthier lifestyles. Today, he will share with us practical strategies, biblical wisdom, and fresh insights on how we can prioritize our well-being while making impact in the marketplace. Friends, ladies and gentlemen, get ready to be inspired, challenged, and equipped. Please join me in welcoming our guest speaker for today's session, Dr. Ebo Daniels. Doc, please take over.
Thank you very much, Mr. Percy. And do I have the permission to share the slides?
Sure, please go ahead.
And can you please see them?
Yes, but right. Got it. Yes, it has to be in a PowerPoint mode. Yes, so this is.
Is it better now?
It's better, yes.
All right. So good afternoon to you all, and thank you, Mr. Percy. You mentioned during your introduction that I am your family doctor, and I also want the audience to know that you are my mentor. Yeah. Mr. Percy is the first person who mentored me some 5 years ago. Those were the days of Yahoo when he came to do a talk for us as very young doctors. And I must say, if today we are where we are, is part of the history that we are building. And I know surely the destiny that we are trying to carve, he will surely be part of it as well. So I'm personally grateful to you. And I'm also grateful to Leader Impact for setting this midweek webinar series, for which I've been honored to be the speaker for the third session with the topic, Health is Wealth, Wellness for the Marketplace. And our foundational quote from the Bible is 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 19, which states that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit. I also want to thank everyone who has made time to join this series. I know midweek can be quite busy, but if we've all been able to join us, I know others will be joining later and others through the telecast platforms that we have. We want to thank you all for joining. I have my team here. Please introduce yourself.
So, I'm Mary G. I'm part of the Search Health Solutions team.
Yeah.
And then I'm Joel Nsiakonadu. I'm the Clinical Operations Manager.
Thank you very much. So they've also joined here as a live feed for you to see what we're doing here. So in order not to take my time, Mr. Percy, you gave me just 30 minutes. So I will try to be as brief as possible. By way of introduction, I want to introduce you to just two quotes first. The first one is by Robin Sharma, a very renowned writer. If you heard of the monkey who sold his Ferrari and then the leader without a title, he is the author of those books. He said that health is a crown on a well man's head that only a sick man can see. These are just quotes, so you can keep them. The second one is by our popular Albert Einstein. He said that a clever person solves a problem and a wise person avoids it. The whole essence of what we are doing with Switch Health, or with the essence of this presentation, is actually founded on these quotes that I just shared. As individuals, sometimes we think when we have challenges, we'll be able to solve them. So we take a lot of things for granted. And because of that, we take our health even for granted, because currently we have conditions that we call silent killers that don't tell you they are there. But the day they tell you they are there, they become loud with strokes, heart attacks, and stuff like that. And currently, as we speak, we have a lot of young people who are losing their lives to these silent killers. And it's all because we don't pay so much premium to our health, because most of these killers are silent. But today we are going to discover some of them. And as corporate partners, as people who are in leadership positions, we are going to discover some of the ways we can unearth or unmask these silent killers, and how we can incorporate some strategies into our wellness to make sure that we are holistically well and we don't, in the course of building businesses, lose our lives. So why is health very essential in the marketplace? You need three things to intersect for you to flourish on it. So we have health being the fuel of productivity and creativity. We are all here today because we are healthy. If we were in hospital beds, I'm not sure we'll even join the webinar. So if you want to be productive and creative, you need health as the fuel for that. Wellness also reduces burnout. If you are not able to do a better work-life balance of your health, you are going to burn out no matter how you try in your work or in whatever calling that you have. So a lot of people are walking around burnt out because they are not being able to manage their wellness very well or their health very well. And health also balances our lives. And when our life is balanced and we are part of a team, we can build stronger teams. We all know how footballers, when they get hurt, the team starts plummeting. Arsenal last season, when they had a lot of injuries, we know what happened to them. So when we are all healthy, we are able to build stronger teams. So that is why it's important that as individuals, we should be what? Healthy. And then true wealth means that we should thrive in the body, mind, and spirit. As Christians, we know that Jesus didn't just come to give us the gospel. He also took time to make sure that he nourished our spirits, and those who were even sick, he healed them. So if health was not that essential or was not that premium, why would Jesus take time to even heal people? So it's important that we know that true wealth is actually when we have good health. So the quote I'll leave you here with is that a healthy employee is a productive employee. So as business owners, if we want our teams to be productive, then we should also pay premium to not just profits, but also the health of our employees. The dimensions of wellness cuts across virtually every facet of our life. Most of the time, the WHO defines health as a state of complete physical, social, or mental well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. This is a very simplistic definition for health. But when it comes to wellness, it encompasses a lot of aspects of our health. It virtually traverses every aspect of our being. So the first one has to do with our physical. Physical means that the physical aspect of your body also is essential in ensuring that you are healthy. When we talk about physical, what are we talking about? We are talking about exercise, we are talking about nutrition, and we are talking about rest. And I know most of us take these things for granted. But if you neglect exercise, you neglect nutrition, and you neglect rest, you are going to have issues with your physical health. So we also come with the emotional as well. Your emotions are very, very important. The first time I heard about emotional intelligence was from Mr. Percy. That was when he was training us. And currently we are saying that emotional intelligence is what will even get you up any corporate ladder or anywhere you are working. Your IQ may be represented on a certificate to say, oh, you are an A student, B student, and what have you. But studies have shown that it's not just your IQ alone that will get you up the rank of the corporate world. Emotional intelligence too is very, very key. So in terms of gratitude and resilience, emotional intelligence come in very handy. Your mentation is very, very important as well. If you are not having a good mental focus, if you are not able to be clear in your decisions or in your choices, and if you are not even having the mental status to learn, then you cannot have a state of good wellness. Another thing we should not take for granted is our social well-being. This comes in the forms of relationships and community. If we are not able to partner with each other, if we are not able to socialize, if we are not able to network, what we are doing here is more like a social gathering, even though it's towards our health. So socialization is something we should not also take for granted. You can't live as a human being in an island. So it's important we socialize as well, because all of these things trickle down to your wellness. And your spiritual aspects cannot be taken for granted. Man is made of body, mind, and soul. So you can't just be someone who is work, then you neglect your spirituality and expect your wellness to be at par. So it's important we recognize all these 4 or 5 dimensions that wellness traverses. And when we are able to do that, then it means that we are able to live a good life in terms of our wellness. And true wellness is wholeness. So for us to be whole in terms of our wellness, then we should make sure we tick all these boxes that is shown up there. The biblical foundation for wellness is also well documented. Like we said, as Christians or as people who profess the Christian religion, it's not just our bodies that are very, very, it's not just our spirituality that is very, very key. Our bodies are also very, very important. And there are some scripture quotes that help us know why wellness also has, reflections in the Bible. So when you take 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 19 to 20, it says that our bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit. This is very key. This is a very foundational scripture. So it means that if we say we are people who speak in tongues and we are walking in the Spirit, the bodies that host the Spirit, which is the Holy Spirit, are actually supposed to be temples. So we are supposed to take good care of our bodies. Also, when you take Daniel chapter 1, verse 12 to 15, it says that discipline brings strength. It means that you can't just think your body will function the way you think it should be. You have to be intentional about it. One word I learned from Mr. Percy is that in anything in life, you have to be intentional. If you are not intentional about taking good care of your body, then you won't get the discipline that brings the strength, which Daniel is talking about. We also have 3 John chapter 1, verses 12, that says that we are to prosper in health and soul. It's not just soul alone. The two are intertwined. You can't prosper in soul and not prosper in health. What body will enjoy that soul prosperity that you are going to have? So it's important we see the nexus between these two things, the health, the soul, so that we know how to take good care of it. And like I mentioned earlier, Jesus knew the importance of the physical body. That is why he also took time to heal it. So Jesus healed both body and spirit. It's not just the word he came to give us. So we are supposed to take good care of the body. So to honor God, we have to care for the temple he gave us. And that temple is our body. And today we are going to learn some of the ways we can take care of this body so that we can live to fulfill our mission on it. So to just kickstart the presentation proper, after coming from heaven, we are now coming down to earth to see how we are handling all these things that the Bible told us. I'm going to talk about some transitions over the years, which have made our health now very, 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 very tragic. We know a lot of colleagues who we've lost at very tender ages. We know a lot of colleagues who have had strokes, heart attacks at very, very early ages. Currently, as we speak, people are getting strokes in their 30s. People are getting strokes in their 40s. People are dying in their 40s, 50s. And when you check the post-mortem results, it's purely because of lifestyle changes. So I'm going to talk about some of the transitions over the years, which have brought us to where we are now, and what we can do to make sure that we are not part of this statistics. So the first thing is our mobility. As you can see on the left side of the diagram or the picture, in the past, there were no vehicles. So when you are going somewhere, you have to walk. We were doing a lot of outdoor activities. People were jogging, walking, and were physically active. But with the advent of the automobile, virtually everywhere you are going now, you sit in the car. But if you are sitting in the car, the question is, are you exercising? If you are not exercising, then it means that you are not physically active. And because of this, conditions such as obesity, hypertension, high cholesterol, and diabetes is on the rise, just because of this transition from we being physically active to using automobiles. So this is something we should look at. The second thing has to do with how we used to drink our water. In the past too, our water used to be plain water. Currently, what do we see? There are people who cannot go for lunch without adding a bottle of Coke, Fanta, or a soda drink. This is what is happening. And these drinks are so laden with a lot of sugar that when it goes into our bodies, they serve as inflammatory toxins. And these inflammatory toxins end up increasing conditions such as diabetes and what have you. So it's important we know that if we are restructuring or readapting the affinity of our taste buds for this kind of things, we are also inviting consequences into our life. So this transition is bringing us a lot of problems. The other transition comes with the kind of food we eat. On the left side are greens, plain rice, and a lot of vegetables. But what do we see now? I'm sure some of us are culprits. In the afternoons or in the evenings, these are the things we want. We want to take the pizzas, we want to take the fries, and these fries are fried with industrial oils. And industrial oils are not pro-inflammatory, but they are inflammatory agents. They cause inflammation in your vessels, they cause inflammation in your blood, and that's what leads to all these complications I mentioned earlier. So if you are someone who now doesn't eat the left side of the picture, and what you take is on the right, the conditions you are going to come out with are diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, obesity, and obesity comes with a lot of challenges too. You may start getting what we call osteoarthritis at a very, very early age, because the bones that support your knees are going to start rubbing on each other very early because of the extra weight you are posing on the body. So this is something we need to look at. We should make food choices that are more green, full of more vegetables and stuff like this, and not what is on the right. As I also mentioned, our kids now are introduced to all kinds of games that are indoor. But when we were young, this is what we used to. We used to play, I think we called it gutter-to-gutter football, right? This is the kind of small post and what have you. This is what we used to do. But currently, PlayStations have taken over. So you see a child who's very young, but he looks like an adult because he's not having a lot of physical activity. So as parents, as leaders, we need to make sure that even though technology is good, we should make sure that we don't introduce technology to kids at a very early age. That will lead to them having health ramifications in the future. Let's still encourage them to be outdoor. Let's still encourage them to play with their colleagues. And that way, they'll be physically active and not develop early onset diabetes, early onset hypertension, early onset cholesterol, and what have you. All these things I've talked about in terms of the epidemiological transition leads to what we call risk factors. And these risk factors are also enumerated as I am going to present here. So the first one is the diets. If what you eat is high fat, you are not doing a lot of good to yourself. The pictures here are more funny, so I'm not going to talk much about that. So if this is your food choices, from today, start making changes to it. And we all know these kind of food choices. What we want you to do is to take the upper portion of the pyramid, this portion, and also add this portion. Forgive me, you should rather take the lower portion of the pyramid, the one that I've drawn with two lines. This contains, what do you call it? The grains, as you can see. It also contains bread that is more brown, and it also contains the cereals. But if your food choices is from circle 1, then you are literally behaving like those I mentioned in the past, where you are taking a lot of fats, oils, saturated sugars, meat that is overly processed. That is not going to help us. So the apex of the pyramid is what we should avoid. But the base of the pyramid is what we should go for. So in terms of our food, this is how the selectivity should be. I always say that you should not dig your grave with your mouth. What you eat is your medicine, as Hippocrates said. But if the food choices you make are in the top part of the apex of the pyramid, then we are literally digging our graves. So let's make sure the kind of foods we eat are the ones in the lower section of the pyramid. Alcohol abuse is something that is also very common now. And somebody once said the blue kiosks and then the pubs are now more than the churches. And that is true. So if you are someone who abuses alcohol, issues such as liver cancer, issues such as hepatitis, and what have you are also going to crop up. So we are not saying don't take alcohol, but be very careful what you take. And even the type of alcohol you take is going to have issues too. But as Christians, it's important to make the decision. If you can even desist from it, that is even the best. But if you are somebody who still think on social occasions, you take it, be very careful how much you take and what kind of alcohol you take. Because the liver is the main organ in your body that handles alcohol. And if you overburden it, if you embarrass it, it ends up with cancers, it ends up with liver failure and all kinds of complications. Physical activity is something I want to say we should all do. We'll be talking more about this. But this is also part of our evolution. In the past, we were more mobile, but currently, this is how most of us live. We get home, we slouch into our chair, we take our PlayStation, and then that is it. We are either on our computer, playing games, and this is not going to help. Exercise is key. Physical activity is very, very key as well. Obesity is something that is on the rise, and we always say that what women can do, or what men can do, women can do better. But there are a lot of men who are having this challenge, as you can see here. Chronic obesity or abdominal fat has a lot of complications. This will lead to high amounts of cholesterol, to lead to high amounts of sugar, which results in diabetes, and it will also lead to you becoming obese. And obesity, like I mentioned, has a lot of complications. So if you are somebody who has truncal obesity, or if you have abdominal obesity, it's important you work on it. If not, the complications later are not going to help. Smoking is something we say you should actually stop. We say moderation with alcohol, but with smoking, we say stop smoking. Smoking is one of the things you can indulge in that gives you virtually no benefit at all. So there's no point indulging in smoking. Oral cancers, lung cancers, throat cancers are all from smoking. And as you can see in the image there, when you smoke, you're actually hastening yourself to your skeleton. So it's something that we should all desist from. Stress is something that has become virtually common to virtually all of us now. We talk to most corporate institutions during our presentations and they tell you, I am stressed. Stress is something that if you don't manage very well, it's going to cause a lot of problems for you. When you are stressed, there are some hormones in your body that shoot up. One of the common ones are called cortisol. And when cortisol shoots up, it increases your, your pulse rate. The pulse is how fast your heart is beating. So you realize that anytime you are stressed, your pulse goes up or your heart starts beating very fast. That's the first thing. And the pulse is also related to your blood pressure. So when you are stressed, chronically, very soon your blood pressure is going to go very high. And the complications of blood pressure, we all know. So what it means is that even though we normally say that blood pressure could be due to genetics, based on maybe, your family history. But currently, because people are overly stressed, especially those in the banking industries, because of the targets they are normally set, it's very, very difficult for them to get rest. But when you don't manage this balance very well, you are going to have cortisol shooting up, pulse going up, and then your blood pressure going up. So you may not come from a family that has hypertension, but because of the stress that is inherent in your job, you can end up having high blood pressure. And this is actually one of the reasons why very young people today are having issues with their blood pressure. Stress can affect anyone, even presidents. In 2008, when Obama came to the White House, that was how the head was. And then when he was leaving, this is how it was. So this is before and this is after. The same for Bush. This is before and this is after. So stress can affect anyone. It doesn't care who you are. But like I said, if you don't manage it well, we are going to have complications. And mostly it expresses itself as gray. I've started seeing some. So it means that we all have to manage our stress very well. It also comes when we domesticate stress. That's what we see in the Jubilee House. But there are some two people who came to our country to rule us, and they were so wise. They didn't come with hair. So we can't tell whether they were stressed or not. So in all instances, let's give a lot of respect to them. They always know how to manage whatever situation they find themselves in. So no hair, you can't tell whether they are stressed or not. Some of us are very, very particular about this kind of fish, which we call, is it Kobe? Kobe. We love it so much. We're not saying you should stop eating Kobe, but the challenge is that Kobe contains a lot of salt. And the salt is shown here. So eating Kobe is like actually adding a lot of salt to your food. And salt increases the retention of water. Water is written as H2O. So let me just do it out. Of water in your blood. And when water is retained in your blood, it increases your blood volume, which leads to an increase in your blood pressure. So all we are saying here is that You may take your Kobe, all right, but wash it very well. Because one of the forms of preservation of food is what? Salting. So what they are actually doing with the salt with the Kobe is to preserve it. That is the whole reason why they are using the salt. So even though you may like the taste of Kobe and all that, please wash it very well before eating. If not, the equation down there is what will happen. You will start having loss of water retention in the blood, and that will lead to what? High blood pressure. There are also some risk factors that we call non-modifiable. As individuals, depending on your lineage or where you came from, you can have your ancestry being Black or Caucasian. It has been found that through research, some conditions are more common in Blacks than in Caucasians or Asians. So for Blacks, for example, conditions such as sickle cell disease, hypertension, diabetes, and also some cancers. This month is a prostate cancer awareness month. Maybe you can have another talk on that. Some cancers are more common in the Black race as compared to Caucasians. So it means that if you were born as a Black person or a Black American, you are more susceptible to these kind of conditions. It's just because of your genetics, not because of any fault of yours. But I always say that the genetics may arm you with a risk, but it doesn't press the trigger. What presses the trigger now is your lifestyle. So even though you are a Black person and these predispositions are there, that doesn't mean that that's your destiny. It only means it's a call to action. The call to action here is to make sure that your lifestyle does not trigger it to bring these conditions that we have mentioned up there. And aging is another thing that raises our risk factors for most medical conditions. Why is it so? You don't see a small baby born today or a small fetus and then the fellow will have high blood pressure or diabetes. But as we age and our structures change, our blood vessels become stiffer, and that is why we start developing hypertension along the way. If our lifestyle is based on the kind of things we talked about, which are not good, we accelerate the process. So that is why lifestyle change is very, very important if we want to live a more proactive lifestyle, which we are saying you should switch. So aging also comes with a lot of chronic medical conditions such as hypertension, diabetes, gout, osteoporosis, and what have you. But how you live will determine whether you will even trigger some of these conditions or not, your lifestyle. So that is very important. And these are things we cannot do much about. You can't change your age, you can't change your DNA, even though some people are trying to change their sex and all that. But with age, it's a chronological thing. But your lifestyle can either slow you from getting these conditions or not. So in terms of the epidemiologic transition, in the past, our main challenge was with infectious conditions. So we used to have things like whooping cough, we used to have things like polio and what have you. Infectious conditions were our portion. But currently, we are battling chronic diseases which are heavily influenced by our lifestyle. That is what is happening now. Because through the introduction of public health measures and what have you, we've been able to fight most of the infections that used to plague us. But currently, these are the conditions that are actually worrying us. And these are the things I mentioned, the blood pressure, the sugars, and what have you. These are all influenced by our lifestyle. And as developing countries, we are also going through this rapid epidemiological transition. And it's all because of the way we copy wholesale, hook, line, sinker, what other people are doing. We see people eating pizza, then we say, no, we'll not take our local foods again. We also want to eat pizza. We see people taking French fries. Oh, we don't want the kind of fries we have here. We have to start. So we've virtually modified our tastes to copy the taste of other people. So it means that if what we are eating has complications, or if what they are eating has complications, if we import that here too, we are going to have that. So this is what is happening currently because of the way we've transitioned in terms of our affinity for foreign things. Foods that were not naturally our kind of foods. Now we are very proud to be eating it. It means that if there are any complications, we should also be proud together. So that is what is causing all these challenges we are having. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, all these things we've talked about present a very, very, just 1 minute, a very, very deadly condition which we call silent killers to us. And the silent killers are actually conditions or diseases that progress very stealthily. When we say stealthily, as you know, it's silently, without noticeable symptoms in their early stages, making them particularly dangerous and hard to detect without regular medical screenings. The examples of these silent killers are hypertension, we have diabetes, we have high cholesterol, we have osteoporosis. What we are saying here is that, for example, when you have malaria, you know the symptoms, and most of you will even rush to the hospital or rush to a pharmacy to get medications because of the fever, the headache, and the most common one is bitterness in the mouth. Malaria is not silent. Once you get it and it starts showing the symptoms, you know. But unfortunately for us, the silent killers don't show symptoms. They are very, very silent. And when they become loud, hypertension will end up with a stroke, a heart attack, and whatnot. And sometimes it really results in death. The same happens with all these conditions you see here. So what it means is that the silent killers are very silent. They don't show any symptoms. And because of that, most people take them for granted. So all the things we talked about, if you are indulging in any of them, or your lifestyle is not proactive towards health, the silent killers will be lacking. Then the day they become loud, these are the things we billion adults aged 30 to 79 suffer hypertension. That is the burden of hypertension in the global scene. And for diabetes, the International Diabetes Federation estimates that 537 million adults globally have diabetes. And when it comes to high cholesterol, 50% of American adults need cholesterol management. And prostate cancer is something that in Africa currently, we say 1 in 8 adults are at risk of developing the disease. Like I mentioned, this is a month for the prostate cancer awareness month. If you can do some research on it, that would be very good. But the best thing you can do for yourself is to also get yourself screened. Because as you can see in the statistics, that 1 in 8 adults, males, are at risk of developing prostate cancer. Breast cancer also has the same statistics. 1 in 8 females have or stand the chance of developing breast cancer. Next month will be the breast cancer awareness month. And I encourage all females on this platform, encourage your loved ones to screen. When we do our corporate screenings, we do a lot of work with corporate bodies in this country. Literally 60% of the people we screen turn out to be obese. So this is the burden of obesity on our corporate population. And this is not something that is helpful. Obesity, like I mentioned, comes with a lot of complications. So this is not good. And the complications for all these conditions we mentioned are quite dire. If we take diabetes, for example, you can lose your eyes. I know people who've lost their vision, their sight because of diabetes. You can have coronary heart diseases, which can result in heart attacks and stuff like that. A lot of centers or hospitals are setting up dialysis centers now. Why? There are a lot of people who are now having issues with their kidneys. And as a country, I always say that we shouldn't pride ourselves with the fact that we can now do kidney transplants in the country. Who wants a transplant? Who on this call wants a transplant? That is why the proactive way of living, the preventive health should be something that we should drum home every day. Nobody wants a transplant. I'm not saying that there may be instances where somebody would not need a transplant, but we should rather shift the gear into prevention than saying that we are going to arm ourselves with the technology so that when there are complications, we manage it. Most people who go for transplants in this part of the world don't live so long. And even if you are on dialysis, the cost alone is not something you want to bear. Most centers charge at least 600 Ghana cedis per session. And normally you need about 3 sessions, 3 to 4 sessions. So if it's even 3 sessions, 3 times 6 is how much? That's 1,800. And then if you have to do this for a month, that's 4 times 1,800 Ghana cedis. That comes to about 4,000 what? 5,600, right?
Yeah, 7,200.
Forgive me, my math is not good. 7,600 Ghana cedis. If you are even so wealthy, I'm not sure this is how you want to spend your money. That is just the cost of dialysis alone. The medications you are going to take is not there. when you're on dialysis, you can't travel by heart, because if you go to a place where there's no a dialysis machine, you are going to be in trouble. So we need to drum home the era of what? Preventive health. And then diabetes can also lead to complications that we call neuropathy, where nerves are damaged. A lot of men are currently having issues with their manhood because of diabetes. Because once the sugar goes beyond some levels, it damages the nerves. There are people who can walk on stones, broken bottles and feel nothing, all because their nerves are gone. Men are struggling with ED, erectile dysfunction, also because of diabetes. So we need to drum home prevention. There's no machine now to help you with all these conditions. So that is why drumming home the prevention is a more better way of handling the situation. The content here has flashed a bit, but we are warning you, if you haven't taken your lunch, forgive me. It's not a good image. This is somebody who has what we call a diabetic foot. Diabetic foot ulcers literally don't heal. They are like chronic ulcers. So in the villages, they will say that when the witches go in the night to do their work, they put the meat on your leg to cut. So because of that, the wound will never heal. This is a diabetic foot ulcer. And I must say, this is even clean. I remember when I finished school as a medical officer at Ridge Hospital, a patient came with a diabetic foot ulcer, and it was actually parceled in a polythene bag. I'm sharing these stories for you to know the kind of complications people are going through, and we should not be part of that statistics. And when the lady entered and they opened the polythene bag, everyone ran out of the consulting room. The scent of the ulcer was so pungent. When we got closer to look at what was there, maggots were coming out of the leg. This is what diabetes can do to you. So even though we are in the corporate world, we are struggling to make our ends and live and all that, we also need to take care of our wellness. If not, I can tell you politicians who have issues like this, pastors who have issues like this. It's important we make time for our life and not just focus so much on whatever professional calling we have, and by neglecting our our health, we get into conditions like this. So this is just for diabetes alone. It's the #1 killer disease in Ghana now. I'll just rush through it. And then 1 in 5 adults, currently is 1 in 3 adults. So the statistics has changed. 1 in 3 adults have issues with high blood pressure, and it's the most commonest cause of premature sudden death. So you see a lot of obituaries out there, gone too soon. What a shock. At long last, all those are the things people say. When you go and look at the mortality and then the morbidity reports, and when you go further and check the autopsy reports, most of the cases are due to hypertension. Very young people in their 30s, in their 40s. This is what we are trying to stop. And then you reduce your life expectancy by more than 10 years if you have high blood pressure. Nobody wants to lose their life expectancy. That is why this conversation today is very important. And hypertension is a silent killer because more than half of those who have it do not know they have it. So that is why screening is very, very important. To move to the next segment of our presentation, which will now lead to the conclusion, let's examine what we call the illness-wellness continuum. The illness-wellness continuum states that if you are an individual and you start having signs in your body, as you can see here, so let's say this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. You start feeling some signs in your body and you don't report to the doctor early. And normally the signs are the things the doctor can detect. So for example, the doctor can tell if your heart is beating erratically. The doctor can tell if your sugar is high. These are signs. If you have signs in your body and then you don't go to the hospital for it to be detected, the signs will progress to symptoms. The symptoms are what, as an individual, you can tell. So if you have headache, you know. If you have chest pain, you know. Pain is a symptom. Headache is a symptom. If you have a sore on your leg, it's a symptom. So it progresses to symptoms. So if even after noting that you have headache, so for example, if somebody has high blood pressure, he does not go to the hospital for them to check the blood pressure, which is a sign, and then the fellow stays for him to move to the symptoms, where he starts feeling headache. And because he thinks every headache is cured with paracetamol, he takes paracetamol, and then still ignores it, then the third thing that happens to you as an individual is that you get what we call a disability. And the disability could come in the form of what? A stroke, a heart attack, a cardiac arrest, or myocardial infarction or whatever. So these are the way things progress. And for some people, they are not lucky. They progress straight to what? Number 4. That is where the sudden deaths come in. This is what we call the treatment paradigm. Treatment paradigm means that you are not proactive about your health, so things progress from signs, symptoms, disability to what? Premature death. Today, I'm not coming to discuss the treatment paradigm. Most of our traditional health institutions are programmed towards the treatment health paradigm. So we have doctors who are sitting in their consulting rooms waiting for you to go through this, and then they'll treat you. But at Solace Hospital, and as part of our philosophy, we want you to move to the wellness paradigm, where if you start from a neutral point here, we make you aware. And how do we make you aware? The awareness is through education, and that is why I must commend Leader Impact for what they've done today. Through this education today, if based on some of the things we discuss, you are able to apply the knowledge, and the application of knowledge we all know is what? Wisdom. And you gain the wisdom, you grow in your health. So you move from 1, awareness, to 2, education, and then 3, growth. And by doing that, you are going to have high levels of what? Wellness. So this is what we are trying to do today. Moving you from education to what? High levels of awareness. If you are on the left side, you are doing disease management. No, we don't even want the disease to come. Like I said, we don't need more transplant of kidneys or dialysis centers. We rather want a healthy population. Even if you go to the US now, RFK is having a lot of challenges with the establishment, because as he's trying to move towards a healthy population, making sure that people live lifestyles that are better for them, those who profit on disease are fighting him. That is not what we want here. We want a population that is healthy. So let's move in the right direction. How do we do that? The first thing is what we call the work-life balance. How do we maintain a good work-life balance? One of the things we should know is to avoid burnout. We are overworked, we don't take time to rest, and by the time we realize burnout setting, this is not something that is good for us. So let's look at this critically. The second thing is to protect time for family, rest, and worship. That is why we call it work-life balance. Don't be so much in a haste to make a living that you forget to live. Dolly Parton said that some time ago. So it's important we also make time for our family, we make time for rest, and we also make time for what? Worship. That helps us to achieve a good work-life balance. The Sabbath principle is very clear. On Sundays, we are supposed to rest. Are we really rested? Somebody said that if you don't rest, we will lay you to rest. If you don't rest, we will lay you to rest. And I know you all know what I mean. So it's important we take time to what? Rest. The Sabbath principle also works with work-life balance. And then balance does not mean that we are making sacrifices. No. Balance means that we are intentional and we are making choices that will improve our wellness, that will improve our health. So let's see it like that, and not sacrifices. So balance is not something you find, it's something you create. So you have to be intentional about it. You can't just sit down and say, I'm going to model a work-life balance. No, you have to be intentional. You have to make time for everything, every facet of your life. As an individual, there are some things you should know. Your finances is something you should make time for. Your health is something you should make time for. Your spirituality is something you should make time for. Your personal development, which most of us neglect, is something you should make time for. And your health comes with the exercise and all those things we mentioned. So life is not just about work. Work also comes. So let's make sure we balance all these facets of our life to be able to get a good work-life balance. Self-care is something we should also take very serious. And how do we achieve self-care? Our daily habits for body and soul are very important. And then we can do this by making sure that we rest. The WHO says that we should rest at least 7 to 8 hours. 7 to 8 hours. And this should be uninterrupted. So uninterrupted. It doesn't mean you sleep for 3 hours, wake up, do something, and then you sleep again. I don't want to mention alpha in this conversation because it's a religious setting. So please, it's 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. That's what the WHO states. It helps you to rest the body, the mind to store information that you accumulated during the day, and for you to be more creative the next day. If you want to know the importance of sleep, go for an all night. The next day, how do you feel? That is how sleep is very essential to you. So don't overburden yourself with staying late at night and not having sleep. Because when you don't sleep, you are going to waken the sympathetics. And the sympathetics is what will wake up your cortisol, because cortisol is a stress hormone. What I explained earlier will happen. Your pulse, your blood pressure will go up. So sleep is actually medicine. And we should also hydrate very well. Hydrating well means that we should take at least 2 to 3 liters of water every day. 2 to 3 liters of water. And we should also eat well. I've already talked about this. The pyramid I showed, take the upper portion of it. The greens, the lower portion, sorry. The greens are very good, and that is what we should indulge in. Prayer and journaling are also very key if you want to take self-care seriously. Journaling is just making sure that at the end of the day, you write some of the good things that happen during the day. By doing that, you are pumping positive energy into your life. And prayer is something we all know. It's a way of communicating to our Creator to give us wisdom, strength to do whatever we need to do. And we should also set boundaries that protect our health. If you know you are having a lot of engagements, a lot of committees and things that are taking a lot of time and not making you make time for your health, please make sure you set boundaries. Healthy boundaries will keep you healthy. But if you are all over the place, you are spread too thin, you will not be able to make impact. So we should know that self-care is stewardship and not selfishness. The best care for yourself is love. If you love yourself, it's not selfishness, it's stewardship, because you have to take care of your body. We'll talk a little bit about stress management because most of us on this platform are in a very busy kind of work. So one of the ways to manage stress is to make sure we identify the stresses early. If you are not able to identify them early, just like silent killers, one day it might end up having bad ramifications on you. So identifying stresses early is very, very, very key. So if it's finances, identify it early and do something about it. If it's your health that is going on, if it's about your job, if it's about your marriage, anything that is stressing you, identification is key in management. The second thing is we should know how to have breathing, mindfulness, and gratitude exercises. There's this 4-7-5 principle, which helps with instantaneously helping you to decrease stress. What you do is that you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 7 seconds, and breathe it out for 5 seconds. When you do this, 4 seconds in, let it stay for 7 seconds, out for 5 seconds. When you do this, instantaneously, you see that your stress will come down. So those who have issues with public speaking or having, you are going for a meeting and you are stressed, this is a technique that can help you very, very well. 4 seconds in, 7 seconds, hold it, and 5 seconds, you see that your mood will change, your blood pressure will come down, your pulse will come down. So very, very important. Yoga and other mindfulness exercises are also very, very key. And one thing we should also know as leaders is that we should delegate. This is a word I love so much. Any leader who fails to delegate will not make impact. Even Jesus delegated. That is why he had 12 disciples, even though one ended up betraying him. So it means that if you are going to make impact in this world, you should delegate. I know there are people who pride themselves in saying that, as for me, when I'm not there, nothing happens. I don't think it's the right thing. It's not wise. A good manager or a good leader should be one who, when he's not even at work or at post, work still happens as if he's not important. But if you are someone who every time you have to be there for things to be done, then check your management. So it's important we delegate tasks. We'll talk about this more as we go on. And we should also share tasks as well. Delegation is also about sharing. So if you know some things are there which others can do, give it to them. As a leader, anything that somebody else can do, let them do it. And only do the things that are more impactful on your table. We'll be talking about a principle that I'll explain this later. And then we should also seek support when needed as well. So the caveat here is that you can't control the waves, but you can learn to surf. As for the challenges that will come, the stresses that will come, they are already there. But know how to surf, and then the waves will carry you where you are going. The Pareto principle is something as leaders we should all know how to apply. And this principle is very deep. It states that 20% of your actions result in 80% of your results. 20% of your actions results in 80% of your results. The Pareto principle cuts across virtually every aspect of our life. Go to your closet right now. You realize that you wear 20% of your clothing 80% of the time. Check your list of customers. You realize that 20% of your clients give you 80% of your what? Income. So what it means here is that we should focus on the vital few. This is where delegation comes very, very handy. So as a leader, when you go to work, and let's say you have 10 items to do, or as anyone who is in a very high stress situation or high result demanding situation, if you have 10 things to do, what you need to do is ask yourself, of the 10 things I'm supposed to do, which 2, when I do, will give me 80% of the impact I'm looking for? Those are the things you should concern yourself with. Then the remaining 8, which you know will consume a lot of time and not give you much impact like the 20%, you delegate it for other people to do for you. If you apply this principle very well with every decision you make, you realize that you have a lot of time for very impactful things. Even your friends, 20% of them are the ones who are making impact. The remaining 80% of your contacts, when they call you, you know they are only calling you because they need something from you. So let's apply the Pareto principle in every aspect of our life. So we should also reduce what we call the trivial many and focus on the what? Vital few. So do less, but do it better. We can only do less, but when we do less, we do it better than trying to spread ourselves so thin. We are almost done. So time blocking is another thing we should look at. And then what does time blocking mean? I know most of us say that we don't have time for exercise. I'm just going to give you a simple way you can help do that. So most of us work from Monday to Friday. So when I tell people exercise from Monday to Friday, oh, I don't have time for it. I understand it. Very good. What do you do with your Saturdays and Sundays? So let's say from 6:30 to 8 o'clock on Saturday. And then the same time, 6:30. So don't go for first mass, go for second mass. To 8 o'clock, a.m. What do you do with that time? The WHO says that we should exercise at least 45 minutes every day for 4 times a week. It's actually 4 times a week. So what it means here is that if on Saturday you can do twice that, so 45 times 45, that's how much? 90, right? 90 minutes. Then a Saturday, 45 times 45. That's what? 90. 90 plus 90 is what? 180. So if you cannot do what the WHO states on a weekday, Monday to Friday, because of your tight schedule, you get home, you are so tired. What you can do is using the time blocking strategy. Make sure on Saturday between 6:30, you choose your time. I'm just giving you an example. Between 6:30 to 8 o'clock, you block the time. If you have a wedding, no wedding starts at 6:30. So no more excuses here. Between 6:30 to 8 a.m., you make time for the 90 minutes walk or exercise that you have to do. Then the same thing on Sunday as well. This can be done even in the morning or in the evening. So choose your convenient time. So the era of excuses are no more. Oh, I can't exercise because I'm working Monday to Friday. Saturday and Sunday are there. And the strategy to use is called time blocking. So what time blocking says here is that make sure that between the 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. or a.m., depending on what time you choose, nothing comes to steal that time from you. So if on that 6:30 a friend calls you and says, oh, I want you to take me to this place to look at it, tell him that no, I can only do that after 8 because I have blocked that time for what do you call it? Exercise. So time blocking helps us to do things which normally we don't have time to do. So let's use it very, very judiciously. So protect time for rest. We should also protect time for prayer and exercise. And time blocking will help you do anything. I just use exercise as an example. And we should not multitask. There's nothing called multitasking. You sit in interviews and they tell you, as for me, I know how to multitask. Do you know what multitasking is? You can't multitask because your focus can only be on one thing. You can multi-focus, but not multitask. Because if you are going to do task A and task B at the same time, you can never do the two. You can only focus on A at one time and move to B. So you're only shifting focus from one task to the other. You are not multitasking. And the time where you shift from A to B, there's some time that is lost. That is why multitasking is not efficient. So if you have a lot of tasks to do, complete one and move to the rest. The one who does and finishes one does more than the one who multitasks and is not able to finish any. So we should avoid multitasking. You can't be driving and say you are multitasking, so you are texting. You know where that will land you. You may end up with what? An accident. So it's not scheduled. So if it's not scheduled, it won't happen. So what it means is if at between 6:30 to 8 a.m., whatever you don't schedule, don't do it. That is how time blocking works. I think the final one is called the time management matrix. This is the final one that we've done. Mr. Plessy, forgive me. I know you gave me 30 minutes. So the time management matrix is actually by the 34th president of the United States. So he is called Dwight Eisenhower. So he said that, let's move. Yes. So he divided tasks into 4 different quadrants. What he called the urgent, number 1, and then the what he called urgent, important, number 2, number 3, and number 4. So these are the quadrants he used to help explain the principle he gave. So he said that if tasks are urgent and important, you do them now. If they are important but not urgent, you schedule them. If you still want to do, you say do later. And then if they are urgent but not important, you delegate. So delegation I talk about all urgent tasks that are not important, responding to calls from clients that you know they are just going to worry you, delegate it to somebody to do it. Writing of memos and things like that, you can get a personal secretary to do it. And with the era of artificial intelligence, there are a lot of things you can delegate to AI to do for you. So you shouldn't kill yourself. And then finally, he said, if any task is not urgent and is not important, eliminate it. Or if you want the D, delete it. That is it. So how is this important here? Exercise falls here. So your wellness actually is in quadrant 2. So exercise falls here, your diet falls here, your scheduling and all those things that you do that are not urgent and very important, they fall here. Now this is where the catch is. If you are somebody who doesn't exercise, you don't pay attention to your diet, you don't do most of the things we talked here today, what happens is that you are going to move from quadrant 2 to quadrant 1. How do you do that? You may end up with a stroke because you are not exercising, you are not taking. You may end up with a heart attack. You are not scheduling to go to the hospital, but that day you get a stroke or you get the heart attack. Nobody will tell you to rush to the hospital. So you are now pushing yourself from quadrant 2 to quadrant 1. So it's important. All the things that we know are impactful in our life, we schedule them. And when the time comes, we do them. We pay light bills in our house. Nobody wants to be in darkness. So we make sure before the thing even finishes, we pay it. So why is it that when it's time for exercise, we say we don't have time? When it's time for diets and it's a buffet, we eat everything. We are not disciplined. Quadrant 2 is where the power is. But when we neglect all the quadrant 2 activities, they shift, they migrate to quadrant 1. And that is where we start having complication. So know that what is important is seldom urgent, and what is urgent is seldom what important. That is what Eisenhower said. So let's apply this principle in the way we manage our tasks. You go to work, there are 10 things to do, bring them into this quadrants, and you know those that are urgent and important, those that fall into the various quadrants. Delegate those that are supposed to be delegated, do those that are urgent, and schedule those that are supposed to be scheduled. And those that are not important and not urgent, delete them from your to-do list. So this is what it means. And the Pareto starts to end up around these two quadrants. So 20% of your tax, if you watch, most of them are in quadrant 1 and quadrant 2. So to conclude, what do we mean by the switch philosophy? I knew in the intro, Mr. Percy talked about we moving from reactive to proactive health. This is the essence of the whole presentation we did today. We are saying the switch philosophy because if you look at the top corner of the screen, we are saying we should switch from healthcare to preventive health. And how do we do that? We can only do that if we are proactive and not reactive to health. We don't wait for things to happen. We make sure that we take actions that will not make the things happen in the first place. And this comes into consonance with what Albert Einstein said. A clever person solves a problem and a wise person avoids it. So we have to be proactive about our health. We have to be proactive about our wellness. We shouldn't wait for complications before we start taking actions. The reactive approach waits until sick and it's very expensive. The cost of health in this country is crazy. It's crazy. When you go to some of those fanciful names that I've propped up, people are paying health in the hundreds of thousands just for a 1 week or 2 week, admission. So if we want to be reactive, then we should have enough money to be reactive. But that is not the way to go. We need to make sure we are not reactive. And then the proactive means that we prevent sickness in the first place. So that is why we are saying that switch from healthcare to preventive health. And all the nuggets of information I've given you today is for you to switch. We've talked about a lot of things, and it's all about you switching so that you are not reactive, but you are proactive. And by being proactive, you're actually being in the preventive health category. And 70 to 80% of medical complications are preventable. So people with strokes, people with heart attacks, people go to the hospitals and the OPDs today. 80% of those conditions would have been prevented if 10 years ago, 20 years ago, those people were doing what we are discussing today. So we want 10 years from today, people should not be in the hospitals even looking for hypertensive medication, cholesterol medications, or any of those medications. But if the lifestyle choices they make today are on the proactive angle, then they can prevent these complications. So 80% of the health budget are actually on conditions that could have been prevented. And that is why we are saying that no, that is not the way to go. We shouldn't wait for illness to happen before we start treating. We should rather educate people to make sure that the illness doesn't even set in the first place. And the only way you can be able to know whether you have a medical condition is through screenings. The future of healthcare is through screenings. And you also having a proactive lifestyle towards it. So how are screenings important? We mentioned that silent killers you will not know unless you screen. So it's important that we screen annually. The prostate cancer awareness month is this month. What are you doing about it? The women, next month will be breast cancer. What are you doing about it? So we are encouraging everybody to screen. Peter Drucker, a very renowned management guru, once said, what gets measured gets managed. What gets measured gets money. If we don't measure something, we cannot manage it. So it means that your health is measurable. Your age is a number. Your sex is a number. Your blood sugar is a number. Your cholesterol is a number. All the things in your body can be measured. So what we are saying is that if you don't measure these things, how will you manage it? So that is why we're also saying that leave the switch philosophy, which says that measure and add lifestyle habits to it, and you will be fine. So get yourself measured. Do you know your numbers? Do you know your blood pressure? Do you know your sugar? So maybe I should leave you with this. Do you know your number? So do you know your numbers? Please write this down. Do you know your numbers? The numbers here are the ones of your age, you know your sex, you know your blood sugar, your cholesterol, everything in your body, your physiology can be measured. But do you know those numbers? If you don't know them, that is when one day they become silent, and when they become loud, they come with the complications that we talked about. So Einstein said a clever person solves a problem, a wise person avoids it. That is the philosophy on which we are talking about. So prevention is the best medicine, and your first dose is screening. Prevention is the best medicine, and your first dose is screening. So marketplace applications, wellness checking before meetings, promote breaks, water, and healthy snacks, encourage prayer and support groups, and leader model wellness habits as well. So what we are saying here is that culture is shaped by what leaders model. So as leaders, what are we modeling? All these things we discussed today, let's go out there and model it, and then our followers will be very happy. So the call to action is for you to be spiritually responsible and know that your health is also your responsibility, and you should commit to small daily changes. We've discussed a lot of things here. It's not today I'm going to apply them. We've discussed a lot of principles you can apply. Start applying them little by little, and you see incremental growth in your work. And then try to embody mind and spirit. It's not just body alone. It's not just mind alone. We are not just spiritual beings. The spiritual aspect of us needs our body operate. That is why when you fall dead today, there's no spirit again. The body cannot operate. The spirit will go somewhere. Fine. But we need our body to be able to operate, and our mind as well. So wellness encompasses all these traits. And let's serve God better by staying well. If you are sick, and like pastor, how can you go and preach? So it's important that as leaders, as people who want to serve God, we serve Him by staying well. And culture is shaped by leaders, as I said already. So my closing encouragement is this: you can't pour from an empty vessel. You can't pour from an empty vessel. Fill yourself with wellness, and it is the only way you can share that with others. Your life's ambitions and choices and dreams can only be fulfilled if you are well. So you can't pour from an empty vessel. So let's fill ourselves with wellness. And Isaiah 40:31 says that renew your strength and you will soar like what? An eagle. So let's renew our wellness. Then we'll be able to soar like an eagle. And we know what the eagle does. And your body is a temple and not a trash can. And don't dig your grave with your mouth, like I said earlier. Your body is a temple and not a trash can. So, Mr. Percy, I'm done. Just to share with you what the Switch health philosophy is. These are some of the things we do. We believe that medicine should be accessible to everyone. So we do telediagnostics, as you can see there. So we can have people come to your home, take your lab samples for you. That's the telediagnostics aspect of it. And then we also believe that you should be able to sit at the comfort of your home and do minor consultations on issues that are bothering you on health. So we do telemedicine, as you can see there. And we also do what we call telepharmacy. So if for one reason or the other you are having issues with hypertension, diabetes, and all those conditions we talked about, which warrant that you need to take in medications for some time, we can also deliver those medications for you. So we call it telepharmacy. It's reliable and prompt, and then the medications you can request for are like the ones that you can do your hypertensive medication, diabetes, antibiotics, and then you get it delivered to you right at your doorstep. And for you, those who have chronic pain, we also do all the therapies you see there. We do physiotherapy, shockwave, infrared, laser, reflexology, and myofascial release. And these are the conditions we manage there. Those with erectile dysfunction, stress and hypertension, frozen shoulder, arthritis and spondylitis, we check all these conditions here. So Solace is a hospital, and we have a team of specialists, like you can see here, who can help you. All these specialists, we have them here. And we also do what we call the corporate clinics. For example, if you're a big organization and you need a clinic on site for you, we do that. And what we do even best is what I'm doing right now. We give health talks to organizations, individuals, companies on any topic that bothers on health. So that is another thing that we do. Our belief is that our mission is to empower at least 10 monthly health talks, 10 monthly wellness screenings, and 100 daily consultations and telemedicine. And I must say that we've surpassed these over the course of the year, and we even need to review it. And today's presentation is actually chalking one of these feats. Our vision is for you to live healthier and longer, and our slogan is for you to switch from healthcare to preventive health. And if you switch, then you are now going to become what we call a switcher. So have you switched? based on all the things we've talked about today, have you become a switcher? Somebody who wants to move from healthcare to preventive health. And by doing that, your wellness will be guaranteed. And our foundational quote is still here. A clever person solves a problem, and a wise person what? Avoids it. I guess we're done. So thank you, Leader Impact. I know I've taken much of your time. Mr. Percy, forgive me. 30 minutes. I don't know where I am. And then my name is Abu Daniels once again. I want to thank the Leader Impact team for this opportunity. And I also want to thank everyone who took time to join us. And those who will be watching this recording later. It's been a very important session for us, and we are happy to be part of this. So, Mr. Percy, once again, thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. That was a wonderful delivery. Obviously, you don't come across as a doctor, but as a medical evangelist, preaching preventative healthcare, and it shows in the passion. And I think whilst many doctors are just engaged in profiteering by commercializing, your visits, you are rather preventing people from visiting you in your hospital, but emphasizing more on screening. Know that as we are aware, time is far gone. But of course, for a good reason and purpose, when it comes to health, there's nothing that we can substitute for it. So once again, thank you very much, Dr. Ebu Daniel, for this comprehensive, practical, solutions to preventative healthcare. And we'll get some questions, but just let me acknowledge the presence of our brother Nathan from South Africa. He's the head of Leader Impact for Africa. And we also have the board chair of the Great Commission Movement of Ghana, Madam Angela Piazza, also with us. There are so many people, Ambassador Ahin, but because of time, I may not be able to acknowledge all of you. So we open the floor for questions, just 5 minutes. So if you want to ask a question, just unmute yourself, or you can just raise your hands up and we can call you. Digitally, raise your hands up and we will prompt you to ask your question. This has been a global audience, if I have to say. We have people joining from Canada, US, UK, South Africa. Yes, and we are so grateful for your patience. Yes, any questions? When it comes to health, I'm sure there are so many. Chris, my business partner, is on. I'm sure you have some questions for the doc. Chris is somebody who is always doing screening. Okay, any questions? Or doc has been very exhaustive. Okay. Yes, our brother Naton says, wonderful talk and very insightful indeed. Thank you, Naton. Yes, any questions? Okay, so whilst we're waiting for the questions, we have the Thrive, the QR code will be shared very soon for evaluation. There's also a link in the chat box, and we encourage everybody to just give us some feedback about this talk. I'm sure because of the time, many people would want to reserve your questions, because the whole presentation will be shared together with the PowerPoint presentations. Anybody who is present will get the copy of the PowerPoint presentation and the talk itself. Okay, so can we ask our brother Magnus? He is in charge of Ignite Ghana. He serves on the global board of Ignite, to give us some closing remarks. Our brother from Gafes Brother Isaac is also with us. Thank you for your presence.